My best friend's husband confessed his feelings for me. Her life was very difficult and she says she's finally happy, so how do I tell her? Mia, 32, and I, 32, met in college and we were best friends ever since. Mia was always very family oriented and romantic, even when she was a kid. Her ultimate life dream was to have a big, happy family. Sadly, Mia had a very difficult childhood. She lost her entire family, younger sister and both parents, from ages 10 to 12. She was in the system for a while until her abusive uncle took her in. Obviously, Mia was and is very mentally unwell, and just a few months ago, she managed to get off her meds and stop going to therapy. Mia and her husband, Rick, 34, are together for 2 years now and married for 6 months. In my opinion, it was all a bit rushed, but Mia was scared that she wouldn't be able to have children if she waited, and to be honest, Rick seemed to be her perfect match. She was aware things were going faster than she initially wanted, but reassured me that her and Rick are on the same page. It's her life after all, so if she's happy, so am I. Rick and I neither love nor hate each other. He's my friend's husband, so at best we tolerate one another. We don't have any common interests and our lifestyle goals are very different. Fast forward to New Year's Eve. Mia and Rick organized a party and invited me and my partner, 31, to join. Everything seemed fine. Rick and I were chatting with some friends when I decided to go outside to breathe in some fresh air. Rick followed a few minutes later. We casually talked about some irrelevant things when he suddenly says that he's in love with me. I thought it was just one of his stupid jokes and I was totally blindsided by it, so I just laughed. Joked back and hoped that he will drop it. Sadly, he just doubled down and got visibly upset. Started saying how he doesn't want to spend another year unhappy and how being with Mia is exhausting because of her trauma and that he deserves better than that. At this point, I got very nauseous and just wanted to get away from it all. So I told him that he has no idea what he's saying and we'll talk about it once he gets his shit together. Mia and Rick are trying for a baby, so I obviously have to tell her as soon as possible. The thing is, I have no idea how to do that. How do you approach a person to tell her the best part of her life is a lie? How do you address something like this with the person who spent the vast majority of her life on antidepressants and being suicidal? I don't even know if she'll believe me. I also don't want to lose her as a friend, but I can't watch her be all happy and giddy about him when I know that he doesn't even fucking respect her. There are times I think just to ignore it all and never mention it, but I know that this isn't right. Part 2. My best friend's husband confessed that he has feelings for me. Shortly after, Rick called to apologize for his behavior. He said he never meant for it to come out, but that he's very unhappy with his marriage and now he sees no escape with the baby on the way. He then said he would never be this confused about his feelings if Mia didn't have feelings for my boyfriend, on which they have been trying to work on for a while, but he's so exhausted from it all that he just wants to end it. He said that he's confused about his feelings for me, but he also wanted to hurt her so that she can see what she's putting him through and how painful it is to be in love with somebody who's a constant in their lives. Basically, he tried to spin the entire thing on Mia's trauma. I told him if he's so unhappy with his choices, he can just leave without vicious lies and that he didn't have any reason to put me or my boyfriend in the middle of this. He just said that he didn't mean for it to happen and we ended the call on that. I went to Mia afterwards and told her about Rick's confession. Obviously, she was heartbroken about this, but seemed to accept it at face value. I then told her what Rick said in the call since I thought she deserves to know that he's making stuff up behind her back. That's when she broke down and said that she had no idea how it happened. She would never act on it anyways. And that Rick was never supposed to tell me about it, but that's something between them that they are so close to resolving. She said she saw how my partner treats me and my kid and how that's something that she desperately wants but is just so unlucky. Call me selfish, but if we were friends as I believe we were, I would expect her to come forward with this, trauma related or not. It isn't just between Rick and Mia. It involves other people now that were unwillingly put into this entire situation. She spent one-on-one time with my partner so many times and she never felt bad enough to tell me, or at least to attempt to stay away from him and give me some fake reason for it. I know she needs support right now, but I can't do this. I simply can and won't, and if I'm an a-hole for it, then so be it. I'm fine with a stupid crush. We're all only humans, and especially with her history, I would 100% understand to help her out if she came to me about it. Lying and the betrayal that went on for years, on the other hand, I simply cannot forgive that easily, especially after everything we've been through and the things that she knows that I've been through. I told her that I need some space. She tried to call me after I left, but I'm too tired to talk to her at all, and I can't see myself doing so anytime soon.
Am I the asshole for dropping my daughter off at daycare early so her teacher could do her hair? So I'm a newly divorced dad of a 3-year-old girl and I have her every other week. My daughter has very curly hair that my ex-wife used to take care of. Now that I'm alone with her, half the time I have to figure it out. I do try, but on my weeks her hair is mostly a frizzy tangled mess. A teacher at my daughter's daycare has very similar hair to my daughter's, so I asked if she could help me with my daughter's hair. She said she could do my daughter's hair in the mornings if I dropped her off earlier. She also gave me a list of curly hair products to buy and what to bring to school. Am I the asshole for dropping my daughter off at daycare early so her teacher could do her hair? She gave me a list of curly hair products and also gave me some tips for washing and caring for it at home. I guess my daughter told my ex that her teacher does her hair for her and she goes to daycare early. Because now my ex is calling me asking if I really drop her off 30 minutes early just so I could avoid doing her hair. She called me a bad parent for relying on a teacher to do my job and for messing up the morning routine. The usual routine was that we'd wake up, give her a bath, attempt to do her hair, have breakfast, and then go to school. And now we do breakfast in the car. And I just want to know, am I wrong? Am I the asshole for refusing to get a job and pay rent at my parents' house? I had my 18th birthday 3 days ago, and on the day after my birthday, my stepdad said he wants me to pay rent to live in his house. My stepdad is quite Christian and conservative, and I don't expect to live rent-free forever, but I know my stepdad is coming from a spiteful place. Him and my mom have had 2 kids and 9 years of marriage. I'm a reminder that my mom was a non-virgin divorced woman before him, so of course I'm treated like a guest and my mom is allowing it. Why? Because she thinks the sun shines out of his ass. He doesn't need my money to pay rent, plus I don't have much and he wants £100 per month. Am I the asshole for refusing to get a job and pay rent at my parents' house? My A-level exams start mid-April and last up to July. I'm doing STEM subjects and I'm hoping to fulfill my offer for a medical course at a good university. I'll need to do a lot of studying, and if I have to get a job, it'll be difficult to maintain the level of studying I need. Out in September. It honestly just feels vindictive, and it's not like I'm unproductive. I'm trying to save the money I had at my last job for when I do move out, and it just feels spiteful and like he's pushing me and making my life harder. My aunt, who isn't too fond of him, is saying he's being ridiculous and told me to come live with her. Took her offer, but my mom's crying.
My ex-boyfriend is threatening to expose our SEX tape if I don't get back with him. Disclaimer is not my story time. If sent on me on Instagram. I broke up with my ex 3 months ago, and it's become my personal nightmare. We actually only dated for 6 months on and off. At the time, I didn't know it, but he was definitely love bombing me from the beginning. At the time, I didn't even know what that was. Not until I started watching TikTok. We met at a bar, which is the worst place to meet a guy, by the way. He was all over me the first night he met me. He was trying to kiss my neck, and he even tried to grab my butt. I told him he needed to calm down, and he did. The following week, he managed to get a hold of my friend on Instagram, and he convinced my friend to give him my number. And my stupid-ass friend gave it to him. He was extremely manipulative, too. I later found out that my friend had a crush on him, so she was just trying to give him my number so she had an excuse to talk to him. Once this man got my number, it was a constant barrage of text messages. He would text me every single morning. He would send me selfies, and all of this without my permission. I've only dated broke guys in the past, and my ex has a lot of money. So I decided to go out with him just to get a free dinner. Biggest mistake of my life. He forced a kiss on me on our first date. Part 2 is up. He actually forced me to kiss him on our first date. Storytime about how my ex is threatening to expose our SEX tape if I don't get back with him. Disclaimer is not my storytime instead of my Instagram. After he forced me to kiss him, I slapped him and he liked it. He actually said, "I'd like that." I know this sounds terrible, but I kinda liked it. So then I went on a second date with him. He was really quick to do the dirty. He would always be grabbing or touching me. Anytime we were alone, even if it was for 5 seconds, this man would just pounce on me. He was literally and utterly obsessed with SEX. Don't get me wrong, it definitely was overwhelming, but I had never been with somebody who was so passionate. But then came the jealousy. He was constantly worried about who I was with. He was always showing up to places where I told him I'd be. Even if I was having dinner with friends, this man would show up. He would show up uninvited to my house. Before I knew it, 5 months had passed. This is when my parents started trying to convince me to break up with him. They hated that he always came around to the house even when we were all having dinner. He would just show up and sit down with us. My father especially hated him. He would also grab me in front of my parents and try to do stuff. Part 3 is up. In front of my parents, he would always try to kiss me and touch me. My father hated this guy. Storytime about how my ex is threatening to expose our SEX tape if I don't get back with him. One night I go over to his apartment, which he lives in a penthouse, and he tells me that he has something fun planned for us. I went into his bedroom and he had this whole setup. Cameras, canes tied to the bed, handcuffs. It was like 365 days in there, or 50 Shades of Grey. This man knew how to get me to do whatever he wanted. He started kissing my neck and we started doing it. I knew the camera was there, but it didn't bother me. I never thought that he would ever try to use it against me. Fast forward 3 weeks later, I break up with him. He decides to start stalking me and then sends me the video. He told me he'd give it to me if I went to his apartment. I go to his apartment and he basically attacks me. Pushes me down on the couch and tries to do it with me. Then he told me that if I didn't get back with him, he'd expose me. I got back with him. He's on his best behavior. What should I do?
Am I wrong for getting a hotel room for my daughter entirely for herself after her stepsisters made her sleep on the floor? My dad passed away 2 weeks ago. Me, my wife Candace, and my daughter 16, Shiloh, and her stepsisters 19 and 17 flew to my hometown to attend the funeral. After that, we got 2 hotel rooms, one for me and Candace and one for the girls. While I was in the room, I got a call from Shiloh at 11 p.m. crying and sounded like she was arguing with her stepsisters. I asked her what the matter was, and she told me that her stepsisters insisted that she sleep on the floor. There was one large bed in the room and there was enough space for all 3 girls to sleep on. I asked why and she said she didn't know. I went to see what the issue was and talk with my stepdaughters about it. They kept talking but didn't really explain why they told her to sleep on the floor. They just shrugged and said, "It's better this way. We're more comfortable this way." I told Charlotte to grab her things, and when one of my stepdaughters asked where we were going, I told her I was booking her a hotel room. Both looked upset but didn't say anything, but they must have called their mom because she was awake when I got back and started arguing with me about giving Shiloh an entire hotel room for herself. I explained why I did it, but she said I wasted money and that Shiloh could have sucked it up for one night on the floor. I called her unreasonable for this, but she told me I showed the girls that I'm playing favorites and made my stepdaughter share a room while I gave my daughter the entire room for herself. We went home and Candace is still breaking up, saying I mishandled this. She even pointed out how my stepdaughters are upset since they're not speaking to me. Edit. It was Candace who got a room for all 3 girls as to not stir any drama and save money. She was in charge of hotel reservations since I was emotionally distressed. Also, Candace did not expect Shiloh to sleep on the floor. She wanted all 3 girls to share the bed. If she wanted all 3 girls to share the bed, why did she say Shiloh should just suck it up and sleep on the floor? Why don't you sleep on the floor and give her your spot on the bed? Go sleep with— oh my god, this post makes me so mad. I don't even want to give my opinion on it. Ew, 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 ew. For those who are calling me an asshole for giving my daughter her name, her mom did that and she's deceased, so please let's not focus on that. And also, I've known my stepdaughter since they were little. We're pretty much family and Candace is a stay-at-home mom, but I give her full access to my money since this stuff was already discussed beforehand. Pretty much everything was.